to like a horrible life. I mean, I'm not saying his life is horrible, but like he was never recovering from that, and it's just crazy. Like a 5 to 10 minute span, like changed his whole life forever, and that spooked me a little bit more than the sister's dying because the sister was a devil.
So I don't know. Also, kind of interesting. So I mean, I think this is where we start to see the issues between Annie and Peter start to spread. Obviously after the death of her daughter, his sister. But if we can bring it now to the scene where they're kind of all eating dinner on the dinner table. I think they're eating Chinese food or whatever. This is like after Charlie's. I think this is right after Charlie's death. But anyways, Peter's quiet, Annie's quiet, and then Steve, the father, is trying to like make everything as normal as possible here. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be some turmoil, some hard feelings, obviously, for the mother to the son, because in some ways he is responsible for her death. But that scene at the table where it blows up and she's like, it's your fault. And like, Peter's like, why do you hate me? And you just can see this, just like the breakdown of the family like vibe. Like they're no longer a family at that point. Like it's just chaos.
And chaos ensues.
Yeah, I know. Like, to me, like that was just like such an unnerving part or unnerving scene, just because, especially for Steve too, who's the dad. He's just like sitting there watching, kind of. It's like must be so uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, and before that scene though, she met Joanne, the creepy.
Right.
It was kind of I knew she was kind of unsettling because who just approaches someone's car like that.
Right.
But she revealed to Joanne like she's like, oh, like she casually mentioned like why you have trouble with your son, like what's wrong with your relationship? And she's like, oh my god, just one time, like I was just like sleeping a little bit, and then I walked into his room, poured paint thinner on both my children, and I had a match in my hand. Like, who doesn't do that every once in a while? Like,
she's like, I wasn't gonna light it.
Like, come on, like who doesn't make mistakes? But like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I mean, like, come on, like she was yelling at her son, and she's like, she said you never take responsibility. I mean, she barely took responsibility. Like, she kind of played down the fact that she almost burned her whole family down.
And was she saying you don't take responsibility because of Charlie's death?
Yes, but I think she also didn't take responsibility for like. I mean, that's traumatizing if your mother
right.
almost burns you in your sleep.
Oh, 100%. That's
She
gonna
doesn't
mess
even
you up
realize how
forever.
messed up. She's like, just a mistake.
You know what that reminds me of? Do either of you watch F is for Family?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that show.
How-
I love Bill Burr.
how-
Shout out Monday Morning Podcast. They need the shout out.
How Kevin, like, he always has the like baby, the fear from when he was younger of drowning because of
Oh my God.
when he was in the pool.
That's real.
And he just never recovers. But anyways, side note.
No, I agree. It's similar, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, also let's go into that the paint thinner scene, I guess, too, because a little bit more, I guess, because so that happens when they're at Joanne's place, and correct, this is after the fact, right, of the first grief counseling meeting,
Yeah.
and that's where she opens up to Joanne, right,
Yeah. So she meets in the parking lot,
right,
and then they get together at Joanne's place.
okay, so this is okay, perfect. So this is when they're at the grocery store, right? It's not even grief meeting. I think it's at the grocery store or something.
It's somewhere random.
Right.
Like, wow,
But
this person
anyways,
was in my car.
So I think it's really funny too, because I mean, yeah, like in hindsight, after watching the movie, we know Joanne's not who she's set out to be. But it's really interesting too how Joanne also is so manipulative, and brings Annie back to her place and is like, I want to show you something. Like, I had a really traumatic experience when my grandson died, but he's like not gone. He's not gone, and I can show you. And she kind of like lies, like obviously lies right to her face, but it's so like messed up how she's like, I went to this medium and she taught me these methods of how to conjure him back, and shows him her grandson, and he writes on the chalkboard and ends up throwing I think a ball or something, right? And then they conjure Charlie for a little bit, right?
I forget exactly what they said.
But anyways, freaks Annie out, and then they go back home. And then fast forward a couple of days, she brings up to Peter and Steve. Steve's like, this is crazy. You're like, this isn't good for Peter. Like, stop. This is good for no one.
Oh my god, yeah.
Anyways, she's obviously not gonna let that go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I was so unsettled by that scene because I mean, we know watching the movie as spectators that Charlie's not a good person. Like, there's something off about her.
Yeah.
And that scene when they conjured Charlie in the house and then Annie gets possessed, that like literally sent chills down my spine when she's like, where am I? When Charlie's inside, she's like,
yeah, when
she's like, help me, like, what'd you do to me? Like, yes, speaking through her.
Yeah.
Like, as Peter, if you heard that in that situation, like,
oh my god,
that I would have lost it. That would have broke me there.
yeah. Also, like Peter, obviously, he went through it with his killing his sister, and like the fact that your mother cannot accept, what happened.
Right.
Also, like what would if your mother wakes you up in the middle of the night or in the morning, like, yo, let's conjure our dead.
Oh, and her faces are right next to his.
Yeah.
She's like, hey.
Yeah, let's conjure.
Yeah,
let's
my
conjure.
God. Like, I would be like,
Hey,
like,
want to have a seance?
yeah, I want to have
Yeah,
a seance.
yeah,
Like, that is
honestly.
horrifying.
And
Mom, it's
this is a
3:30
side
in the
random
morning.
thought, but like in all horror movies and like zombie movies, like they don't know, like these universes that they're living in, they don't know about horror movies. They don't know about zombie movies. Like The Walking Dead, they don't call them zombies; they call them walkers.
Right.
And like the same thing with like different movies. I forget or maybe like A Night of the Living Dead, they call them the Good Dead.
Right.
They never once call him a zombie.
Yeah, and just kind of like this, like they never I've never seen like paranormal activity or anything. Like, yo, you hear conjure, the word conjure, you should probably leave. Like, you never.
Right.
Conjure is not a good word.
No,
Well-
and he clearly went for all the conjuring shit.
And you
Shit.
can also tell, too, at that point, that
Like,
I
alright.
think Annie, like, honestly broke. I mean, like, yeah, she's gonna. I think, honestly, when
She's-
Charlie's dead, that's it. I think she snaps.
Yeah,
Because,
I want to die. I want to die.
right. And also, too, to that point, like we said at the beginning, she did not like her mother. Very strange relationship. When she dies, grief counseling, she breaks down a little bit because of like the horrible stuff that happened between Annie and her mother. And for her, and she knows that her mother was also part of a cult that was very like spiritual. And for her to then be like, "Hey, want to conjure your sister?" Like, to just 180 flip like her point of view. I mean, like, you can tell. Like, I think that was her like snapping point. But like,
Oh, yeah, she was going.
I don't think she was the same from that point on in the movie. I think that was a different Annie, And I wondered too, because we'll get into this later too, but I wonder too if Charlie, when she's able to speak through Annie, I wonder if she in some way is stuck in the mother's body. Because we'll get into that later, but we see the mother start to do weirder and weirder things too. And I'm wondering if that's because Charlie didn't necessarily leave after. Because also, if you remember, Joanne was like, there's certain things that you need to do to end the ritual. And once Charlie starts speaking through Annie, and Steve's freaked out for Peter and doesn't want that to happen, they kind of just like abruptly end it, shake her awake, and they don't actually end the seance. So I'm pretty sure Charlie's still stuck in the mom, and then I think Charlie's living through the mom from this point on.
That's a good take, and I probably do agree with that. Honestly, I
That's-
didn't think about that, but
Right.
That's
Also-
pretty cool.
quick side note, kind of random, but I think how does Peter not lock his door? Like, seriously,
You could live in a house with no locks on his door.
I would buy a lock after my mother almost burned me alive.
Right.
I mean, come on.
And so wait, after the seance, isn't there another scene, or is this later on, where the mom again goes close up to his face? I don't think it was real. I think this one was kind of like a vivid dream.
Yeah.
But she has like a... Would you correct it? I don't want to go too far into this. If this is later on, we'll get into this later. But there's a dream sequence where Annie goes into Peter's room again and goes like, is like hysterical. It's like, I don't know. Starts off by saying like, I want you to know like I would never do anything to you or something like that, and like then goes like, I hate you or something. Like breaks down, and like the two of them have this like moment of animosity. And then
I
all
never
of a sudden,
wanted you. I
never wanted
to
you.
kill you. I try to have a miscarriage any way possible. She said.
Right, and he's like, why are you saying this to me? And then all of a sudden she's back and he's soaked with the match and they're on fire, and then she wakes up again.
I'm pretty sure this happened right before they conjured Charlie.
It did. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. So that's what happened. So I'm wondering too, if by Joanne doing the first seance, if that triggered something. And
for sure.
because I think the mom almost burning her two kids, I think that happened because the grandma was very
Oh.
spiritual and doing stuff. And I think it kind of
Yeah.
like happened.
The grandma's the root of it all.
Yeah, she's the root of all evil for sure.
And I'm not trying to go too far in the movie, but we've all should have seen this movie by now if you listen to this. So, I mean, they find pictures of the mother finds pictures of Joanne and the grandmother working together. So I think that Joanne was for sure, like, she knew what she was doing. She
Yeah.
wasn't like ignorant or anything.
There was a plan set.
oh, for sure. Like,
Oh, yeah.
For
so
when
she was
Grandma
like
passed
manipulative for sure.
into the underworld.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, the grandma's on the wall, like on the frame at the end,
Yeah.
which is kind of like, I think she was the leader of the cult.
Queen Lee.
Yeah.
What? Her name was Ellen.
I wonder if that stands for something. Honestly, like, that definitely could. Maybe.
How was it spelled? Do you remember?
Leigh.
Maybe like
Is
Haman.
Leah's satanic name?
Haman.
Sorry to our friend Lee.
Yeah, it was really
I'm not seeing any like reference to it being demonic.
Yeah, no, I figured not.
that's just random.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
that
is
was an error. I
interesting.
know that was an error. Everything happens
It's
for a
pretty
reason.
weird.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely some meaning that.
Oh, for sure. Maybe it was just like a short.
There's just so
nickname
many
of
like
Ellen.
little details
Okay,
in this
maybe.
movie.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a stretch.
We haven't talked at all yet about. Actually, no, we're getting there. Never mind.
Maybe lead us up into it.
Oh, anyway, so you want to listen to that, or just what were you about to say? I was gonna talk about Father Steve a little bit.
Okay.
It's also funny that you say Father Steve.
Yeah, well,
Because
this
kids in
can't say
like
Steve,
sophomore
that's-
year of high school used to call me Father Steve.
I called you Father Steve.
No, kids from my grade.
I mean, if it's the beard, definitely makes you look fatherly.
Steve. Yeah, he's got a nice
Maybe my
beard.
pop.
That was
Poppy.
pre-beard.
This man,
Oh, it was?
this man Steve can grow a beard if you guys can't see him, which you can't. So use your imagination. But Father Steve, he was very. He's kind of an interesting character. I think he's probably the most normal for sure.
Yeah.
I think. But
Also,
he was-
quick side note: I didn't realize till the halfway through the first time watching that he was actually the husband of Annie. I thought he was like Annie's father that was just sticking around to help.
There's a huge age difference. I also
Right?
that was
I
in my
had no
notes.
idea,
I was
dude.
like, Father Steve, really old.
Yeah.
them kissing in bed kind of gave it away for me.
No, I won't lie. I'd still at that point. I was like, "Why is she kissing her dad like
Still
that?" I was so
uncomfy.
weirded out.
That's
But
why.
yeah,
But also, yeah, he was repressing himself a lot. Like he
was trying to hold it. He was the glue. He was trying,
he
to,
was
hold
trying to hold
together.
it in. And when Peter smashed his face into the desk, he drove him home and he started breaking down at the wheel. Also, he took I think he took like medication. Like they started him taking the pills and swallowing the pills.
He was on his own antidepressant.
But also looked like Bill Gates. That's the main thing I got up from his character. He looked like Bill Gates.
So basically, Bill Gates, good dude. You're saying?
Also, we want to put our condolences out to Bill Gates, who went through a hard divorce. He needs the help now.
Did he actually?
He actually got divorced. Yeah.
Oh, rest in peace, man. Lost probably
Oh,
like half his
man.
fortune. Still a billionaire. I think he'll get over
So
it.
we're opening a GoFundMe to Bill Gates if anyone wants to help him through the divorce.
And the GoFundMe, actually, instead of going to Bill Gates, we'll handle the money and then we'll personally hand it to him. So don't worry about it. Your money's safe, but it just will be in our possession first.
And don't be selfish. Bill Gates needs that money. So,
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So you want to go?
So, Steve, let's go to your point then. Let's just skip right to it.
The body in the attic.
Okay.
The body in the attic, okay.
And specifically, the symbol that is painted in blood above the body in the attic. The same symbol that when you go back to the beginning of the movie and they're at the wake for the grandmother, Charlie goes over to the casket to look at her deceased grandmother, and she's wearing a necklace with the same symbol. And also, she bites that chocolate bar again while she's looking at her dead grandmother.
Right.
Satan child. But
So,
that symbol is, like, recurring.
yeah. It's funny, too, because... So, I'm wondering, too, and I mean, like... I'm just going to say it. I know, like, this is discovered at the end. But I'm wondering if the grandma conjured Payman into Charlie when she was born, or if Payman was like already Charlie just right out of the womb, you know? Because I know that they say that the grandma left the son alone and instantly attracted to the daughter, Charlie. But I'm wondering if it was because it was just a girl and that she was able to conjure Payman into him, or if it was because Payman was born into that body.
I would think that because the grandmother was so into that cult that I'm sure that she probably performed some weird seance to possess the daughter. That's my theory, but I don't know if that's true.
And then I can get down with that, honestly, but the only thing that I would say to that is, which we find out at the end too, is why wouldn't she just go straight for the son? Because, and I know that the mom didn't want the grandma anywhere near the son, and that's why I think a little bit, because she was like, stay away. But at the same time, doesn't the grandma's spiritual powers, you think, would be able to like reach the son? You know, like why would she put Charlie through that, knowing that Charlie's just gonna have to die.